after Bashir Jamil was assassinated. Bashir, for you guys who don't know the history of Lebanon, in '82 they had an election, and the Constitution in Lebanon says the president has to be a Maronite Christian. So the candidates were basically led by Bashir Jamil, and we knew Bashir was going to win. Bashir had been a Christian warlord. He had run the Qataya, which was a Christian militia. And he was assassinated shortly after the election. And I was in Cairo, packing up my apartment in Cairo to move there for real. I've lived in a hotel the summer of '82. So when he gets killed, I called my boss in London and said, I have to go back because we get ugly. And sure enough, it did get ugly. And what happened was the Israelis came into West Beirut after Bashir was assassinated, and the Christian militia came in behind them and came into Sabra Tila and massacred roughly 1,000 Palestinians. So we got into the camp on that Saturday, and I don't know if you guys have ever been in a refugee camp, but the one thing about a camp like that is the noise level is amazing. You've got kids and people screaming. We walked into the camp that Saturday morning, and you could hear your heartbeat. There was no noise. It was very, very disconcerting. And then you start looking around, and walking in the camp, you can hear your heartbeat. And then you look around and you go, oh look, there's a pile of garbage. Oh look, another pile of garbage. So it takes your brain a few seconds to catch up with your eyes. Your eyes are saying pile of garbage. And then your brain has to translate that and realizes it's not a pile of garbage, it's a pile of corpses. Piles of corpses all over the place. And then you walked into a house and you saw a family shut down at their dinner table. And they've been now in the sun in September for 3 days. So the stench of a corpse that's been in the sun for 3 days there's no smell like it. There's just no smell on earth like it. And it's very sad. I had spent a lot of time in Sabra Tila just photographing street stuff, just photographing daily life. Because it's a place where there was lots of life, there were lots of people, and I got to know a lot of people, and obviously some of them survived, some of them didn't. So this is the Time magazine cover, and I'll tell you the story about these pictures. We talk about the analog world, we talk about processing film, we talk about wiring pictures, we talk about no internet, no satellites, no nothing. So when the story breaks the same day, that Saturday, the Christian militia cut the lines. From the east side, they had the control over the lines to the outside world. So there was no international phone line in West Beirut. So I'm processing all these pictures and realize when we're all done, I'm trying to make phone calls, we can't get out. So they said, well, let's go to the Israeli Press Center in Babda, which is on the other side, in the East Beirut, on the mountainside. So I put my pictures behind my shirt, take a transmitter, put it in the trunk of the car, wrap it in dirty rags, and go trooping across the Green Line through all these militia checkpoints. Get to the Israeli Press Center, you get set up, they got this huge Israeli Press Center, Israeli press has been working out of during the invasion. And I've got these pictures sitting on a table in it. And so the officer comes along and looks at these pictures and goes, the world should know this.
No way.
Anyway, so to make a long story short, I get a phone line and I'm talking to the desk in New York, and I'm dictating a story. I'm dictating the first massacre story to the New York Foreign Desk. So I spend 15, 20 minutes giving them a 2,000-word story, and they said, look, let me have the photo desk. So they give me to the photo desk supervisor, and I got this stack of pictures. And I said, okay, this is Beirut, I'm ready to start writing pictures. And I have the first picture on the drum. And the technician in New York said, go Beirut. I pressed the button. I had no sooner pressed the button than the power went out. So we had no power. I had a phone line. I could talk all day, but I couldn't wire a picture because I didn't have power for the transmitter. So I go back to the forward desk, and I continue the story. I give them the whole story. And then I called the bureau in West Beirut and said, what's the plan? And NBC had a charter flight from Tel Aviv. Remember, at this point, the Israelis controlled Lebanon. They controlled the airport. And we had a commercial flight come into the airport in 3 months. So, but the Israelis were going to let a charter flight come into the airport from Tel Aviv, and that flight was going to carry all the videotape and still pictures back to Tel Aviv, where it would transit. So they said to me, if you can get to the airport and give the film to Tony Hillman at the airport, they'll send it to Tel Aviv. So again, it's about getting from point A to point B without getting killed. Because I'm at the top of the mountain in Babda. West River's over here, the airport's here, and to get from there to there, I have to go through all these Christian villages to get to the airport. And hope that I don't get stopped by a Christian militiaman, because if they found those pictures of the transmitter, I'm dead. So I tell the driver, if we get stopped by a Christian militia, or we lost our Israeli guy. Israeli officer was helping us, and we lost them. This is a completely interesting story. So anyway, meanwhile, to make a long story, we don't have any problem. We get to the airport. Tony Hill was standing there. I said, Tony, great, when's the plane arrive? It's arriving now. 2 seconds later, boom, this little suspect lands at the airport. I give him a pile of pictures. He pushes the bag, plane takes off. So I'm standing there on the tarmac, and all of a sudden, Tony's walkie-talkie goes off. And this is a more journalism story than anything else. And on the voice on the walkie-talkie is Claude Solhani from UPI. And Claude says, Tony, when's the plane arrive? And Tony says, the plane just left. But Bill Foley is standing here. Maybe he can help you. Or you can hear Claude saying, he can't help me. So my pictures were the only pictures for 2 news cycles. Because we were talking Saturday, so the only news cycle we're going for is Sundays, Sunday AMs, because there's no PMs in the States on Sundays. No, there's no PMs, period. But so the Sunday news cycle into Monday, my pictures were the only pictures out there, because they didn't get other pictures out of Lebanon until later that Monday. So it was very, and again, you've got to be willing to do just about anything to get this stuff out, which is what I was willing to do. So we made it out. We got stuff out. So these are the pictures from that series. This is the woman's telling the UN guy, where were you when these guys were in here killing us? Women going through corpses under blankets to see if they can identify any relatives. These corpses were just littering the streets in Savage Tila. Because with the masks on, I mean, really, even those masks did protect you from the smell. And people were doing, like wrapping, lemon juice and onions and garlic and handkerchiefs and holding it against their noses. Trust me, it didn't work. This is a gentleman who is crying at the mass grave for his relatives who were lost in the massacre. This is a guy I knew from a couple of years of being in the camp. And we knew each other, we talked a lot. And then here he's showing me his family members, all their ID pictures of those who were killed in the massacre. So it's really tough. As a journalist, you have to put things aside. And you can't say, oh, well, the Marines are upsetting, or the massacres. You have to do your job, and then you can reflect on it later. But at the moment, I always put it like you go on autopilot. You just go on autopilot, seeing the frame, seeing the story, talking to the people, and then later you can sit down with your friends or other people who experience the same thing and talk about what you just witnessed. was marine bombing, massacres, fighting in the streets, whatever it is. You can reflect later. But at the time, there's no break. You got to just do the job. The rubble of the houses are destroyed. This is the iconic picture of the mouse falling off the computer table. This picture is used every time there's a story about sovereignty. Every September, every year, they do a story on the anniversary. They use this picture. This is a woman holding up these helmets saying, the Christians that came and killed us were wearing these helmets. And it's one of those pictures that really tells the story. You've got all these people in the background, the rubble, it's got everything in one front. Tells the story. And this is a picture that's been in a number of magazine covers. This is a Marian University magazine cover talking about global perspectives. And I would give a big lecture at the Marian University Alton Mansion in 2008 on the Middle East, on what was going on. And I had a standing room only crowd on a night that was pouring rain. And there's still a lot of interest in the Middle East, obviously, because the Middle East is one of the stories that won't go away. It's a story that just keeps going. And when you look at in Beirut in the 80s, it was almost benign compared to what's going on today with ISIS and Iraq and Syria. And these guys are destroying, all this history and deciding that Muhammad was wrong. I mean, who are these people? Okay, so I've got, there's more, so we can look at Dubai Desert, which is these are sort of more like classic art photographs. I went to Dubai, I've been to Dubai a number of times, but on this trip I was working with an artist. We were doing not really a story, but